It is Tuesday. It's another edition of Locked On Royals on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. I believe the Royals have to spend money to find their number one starter, not use somebody that's already here. Secondly, Steven Cruz just got called up to Kansas City. I'm going to tell you why that's important. And lastly, I'm very excited for the upcoming winter, and I'm going to tell you why. That's all coming up next on Locked On Royals.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Locked On Royals on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. And you can find all of our episodes on those podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and you can catch us on YouTube. Just be sure to hit that follow button and subscribe. If this is your first ever episode of tuning in to Locked On Royals, I am a lifelong Royals fan, and I have turned that fandom into a career path. I now work in Kansas City at Sports Radio 810 WHB. I've got daily shows, and I don't just talk Royals. So if you want to hear my takes on the Chiefs, you want to hear my take on college sports, whether you're a KU, K-State, Missouri fan, or just national news, I have you covered on both ESPN Kansas City, and I've got you covered on night shows, at least once a week on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Actually, tomorrow night, I will be on air from 7 to 10. But I've turned that fandom into a career path, and it's been a lot of fun doing so. I love covering sports. I love being around sports, and I love bringing you content about these boys in blue, the Kansas City Royals, and I really don't care if they're 51 games under 500 or 51 games over 500. I try to bring that same enthusiasm every single episode. Now, what I wanted to kick off the show with today, and we are going to get into free agency talks and this overall roster outlook, but before that, I do want to give a shout out to today's title sponsor in Sleeper. I've got some really good picks that are going to be upcoming for tonight's game, game 2 of this Kansas City and Pittsburgh series. It is Cole Reagan's day, and he will be one of my picks on Sleeper, so that'll be coming up here in about 10 minutes or so. But as I mentioned, this first segment's going to be a lot of free agency talk. And it's going to come from a tweet I had last night about a number one. And I apologize for not having the username in front of me, but a fan asked a very good question and had an opinion on what the Royals can do with their number one spot next year, their opening day starter. Now, he believes that Brady Singer should be the opening day starter in 2024. And even though Reagan's maybe the better pitcher right now, you got to go into the season giving Singer that spot and go, it's yours, kid. It is your spot to lose. You're the ace of the staff. Let's move forward from there. But I could have took a different approach. I said, one, Brady Singer's not going to be the opening day starter. And two, Cole Reagans is going to be the opening day starter. And I'm as big of a Cole Reagans fan as there is out there, but you don't just give a guy an opening day spot because of 10 good starts. Now, I say 10 because Reagans has 6 right now. I'd imagine he makes about 4 or 5 more. But if the Royals go into opening day next year with Cole Reagans as the number one, I'm going to assume they were pretty quiet in the offseason. Because the best thing for Cole Reagans is not making him the ace of this staff. The best thing for Cole Reagans' development is continue to let him shove, but do so as a number 3 guy. As for Brady Singer, folks, this was his prove-it year. I mean, how much more setup could it have been? He was coming off a career best year. You know, people are saying, "Oh, this is his all-star year. This is going to be it for Brady Singer." A WBC appearance. You know, he's on the World Baseball Classic team. This was his year. This was his contract year. And I know it's not officially his contract year, but one where he could have earned an extension. It was lined up perfectly. The stars were aligned for Brady Singer. And then he did what he did in the first half. That, to me, is not an opening day starter. And even though Cole Reagans has not only been one of the best pitchers for the Royals, but one of the best pitchers in the American League in the month of August, he's not going to be my number one. That seems a bit foolish from a front office perspective. You know, you don't just buy into maybe a third of a season of starts and go, all right, you're the ace. Cole Reagans has never been an ace. Cole Reagans has never been a number 2 or number 3 in a rotation. In fact, this is the first time he's been in a rotation where his position is pretty stable. So you don't go that path. I am holding on to the belief that the Royals spend this offseason. How much? I don't know. I don't have an exact number for you. But what the good thing is here, there's really only 2 number ones, and I mean true number ones. Because I got some rebuttal last night when saying I believe the Royals are going to sign a number 1, and a lot of people are in the comments saying, well, that's the Royals number 1. They're going to go grab a number 4 or number 5 and make them the number 1. Here's where I'm at on this. There's 2 true number 1s, as I just said. It's Ohtani and it's Blake Snell. That's unrestricted free agents. They don't have a player option. They don't have a club option. They are going to be unrestricted free agents. They will hit the open market. It is Ohtani and it's Blake Snell. Rule those guys out. But there are guys in the price range for the Royals to make their number 1. Back in 2015, you think Edinson Volquez was a true number 1 coming to Kansas City? He was very good for Pittsburgh, but he was not a true number 1. Like a lot of teams, you take a number 2 or number 3 from a contender and make them your number 1. A guy I love, and if you've listened to my podcast long enough, you would know I'm a big fan of Jordan Montgomery, who was great with St. Louis, was traded to Texas, and has been great as well. He's somebody, and don't let the Royals fool you, they could afford. And he's a number 2 in Texas right now. You think you would complain about him being the number 1, the opening day starter for the Royals? I sure as hell wouldn't. How about Michael Lorenzen? Lorenzen got a 1-year deal for the Tigers. It was okay for the Angels, but didn't pitch a full year. And then he comes to Detroit. He's an all-star, whether you want to believe that or not. And then he throws a no-hitter for Philly. He's been pretty good for Philly since. I'd be fine if the Royals gave Lorenzen a 2-year deal and he's the opening day starter. I got some pushback on Jack Flaherty, but let me be very clear. Jack Flaherty would be more so of a bounce-back candidate. And that is, he's holding out for a big contract. It's not there. Market falls in favor of the Royals or a small market team. You give him a 1 or 2-year deal, throw him in the rotation. And that's really if the Royals are incredibly quiet and they strike out on everybody else. But there's affordable guys out there, and I believe the Royals don't need to spend money. They have to spend money. Okay, you can't lose 115-ish games or 110, 115-ish games and then go into the offseason and say, well, it's another evaluation year. You can't. Because the fan base is already, I would say, teetering on the brink of revolting against this front office, revolting against this ownership. And I know that those fans are probably not going to be the ones voting for a downtown stadium, but it's more so of the identity of this team, the culture of this team. If you want people to support this ball club, buy tickets to go out to Kauffman Stadium, because those are the diehard fans that are revolting right now. You have to show some urgency. And also, you have to show some urgency to your young core players. Bobby Witt Jr., Maikel Garcia. If you want to extend Bobby Witt Jr., and I've said this before, I'll say it again, you have to prove to him you're committed to winning. You think Bobby Witt Jr. wants to hang around for a 5-year rebuild? No, he's not going to be recognized at all. And that's going to be a hard selling point if you tell Bobby Witt Jr. in those contract negotiations, hey, you're our star, you're our centerpiece, we're going to pay you a lot of money, but you're never going to sniff October baseball. Now, I know they wouldn't say that in the meetings. They'd probably try to center everything around money and him being the face of the franchise. But I believe there's going to be some money opened up. You move Salvador Perez, he's off that payroll. You send some money that way. I know it's going to sting a little bit. You're still paying Hunter Dozier. Maybe you cut ties with Jordan Lyles. I get it. You're spending some money there. But it's still an affordable free agent market for a number 1. There's not a number 1 on this team right now. And I think to develop this rotation, you need a workhorse. Not a Jordan Lyles workhorse, not a Chad Enningseater. None of that. I don't need another Jordan Lyles. I need a true bulldog. I need a guy who can give me 200 innings. Jordan Montgomery can do that. Michael Lorenzen, I believe, can do that. And if you have to overpay a little bit, okay. The Royals don't spend any money anyways. If you feel pretty good about the lineup, you feel like the spots are pretty solid. Garcia at third, Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Massey at second, Pasquantino at first, Fermin behind the plate. If you want to roll with that route, and then outfield spot, you could have Isbell again. I mean, I'm not on the Isbell train, but If they went with him, I'm not going to throw a fit. Melendez is going to play somewhere, maybe like Nelly Velasquez. Are you signing outfield bat? Okay, the money's all there for pitching, for starting pitching. You can make a little bit of a splash. I don't think I'm crazy. Call me crazy. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. I think this number one in 2024 is going to be a free agent acquisition. John Sherman said he's ready to spend it. The core is in place. Well, I think a little bit, a minor core, a semi-core, if you will, is in place, and you got to show them they're willing to help you out a little bit. Not by bargain bin deals, by going out there and committing to a 2 or 3 year deal. There are some guys I like. There are affordable guys, and I believe, and I firmly believe, the Royals are going to act on it this offseason. Okay, the next thing I want to dive into is this bullpen. I've said it with John McMillan that you take the stuff over the results. And now the second part of my plan has come into place. Steven Cruz was called up this afternoon from AAA Omaha. The numbers weren't great, but the stuff is there. I'm going to tell you why that's important. Coming up on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. Before we talk about this bullpen and Steven Cruz being the newest addition, let's give a shout out to today's title sponsor in Sleeper. I apologize for anybody that took my fantasy picks last night. Those were terrible. I took Salvador Perez to homer. I don't believe he even had a hit in the game. I was close on my Greinke projection. I said at least 5 innings, and he was pulled at 4 2/3. So I'm not losing too much sleep over that as if I was completely off. I was close. Did sting a little bit, but I was not close whatsoever on Salvador Perez. Let me see if I can get you on the right track tonight. My picks, I'm going to go with Cole Reagans. I think that he will throw more than 5 innings tonight. I'm going to stick with that basis of 5 innings, but I'm going to add an extra thing in here. I think he strikes out over 7.5 guys tonight. Then for my offensive player, I'm going to go with Bobby Witt Jr. I think he gets over 1.5 hits. He's due a little bit. He had that red hot July and August. He's cooled a little bit, but I think he has a pretty good night tonight. I do think the Royals get it done in Game 2 against Pittsburgh. But do you agree with my picks? I sure as hell feel pretty confident. So with Sleeper, you can swing for the fences with up to 100 times the payouts. All you have to do is choose 2 or more players that you like and select more or less on their stat categories like home runs, strikeouts, hits, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win big with Sleeper. This bullpen has been a disaster. And at this point in the season, there are 2 guys that I really like watching out of the bullpen. One is Carlos Hernandez. And even from time to time, he's not that fun to watch, but he's the high leverage guy. When the Royals are leading or it's a close game, he threw last night. He's in there. I think he just needed to get some work in last night because that was a anemic, terrible, boring snooze fest of a game. 5-0 shutout at the hands of the Pittsburgh Pirates. But Hernandez has the stuff for me to sit there and watch. It's entertaining. Taylor Hearn, heck no. Tucker Davidson, nope. Even guys like Austin Cox, I wouldn't say so. But it's John McMillan and Carlos Hernandez. John McMillan, to me, is the guy I will watch no matter what the score is. I want to see the stuff that John McMillan has. And lo and behold, in the first 4 outings he's had, 8 strikeouts, he's allowed 1 base runner. And it was a home run, so his whip is 0.25. He's been virtually unhittable. 8 strikeouts, no walks. Again, a guy you build your bullpen around. And John McMillan made the jump from AA to the big leagues. It shouldn't look that easy. But again, it's about the stuff. He had big strikeout stuff, high walk rate, but as I've said hundreds of times before on the podcast, you take stuff over results. When you're this bad, when your bullpen's this bad, I hate to say that it can never get worse or never say it can't get worse. A little tribute to Buddy Bell. But I really believe at this point, what are you afraid of? You're afraid of a guy coming in and walking the bases loaded? That feels like something that just happened. It did with Jackson Kowar. You can't be scared of that. You got to try out some new meat, some fresh meat. Steven Cruz is another guy. And there's the trifecta. We're 2 of the 3 parts, but there. We're almost there. 2 of the 3 steps. You brought up John McMillan. There's 1. Steven Cruz is another fireballer you have, big frame, 6'7", 220, 230 pounds, big body, big fastball. Now in Double-A, he was great this year for Northwest Arkansas. In Omaha, not so much. But I don't buy into Triple-A numbers that much. They're ugly, don't get me wrong. You can go look for yourself. I mean, the numbers are pretty putrid for Steven Cruz. But he's a young, powerful arm. There is no harm in putting him up there. And I optioned Taylor Hearn. So I'll just ask for a Royals fan's pulse here. Are you okay with sending Taylor Hearn down on the off chance the Royals need a lefty up there, but you'll take a chance on a guy with bad AAA numbers but a power fastball? I know my answer. Now, Steven Cruz, like John McMillan, is how you build a bullpen. It's important that the Royals do this. Now, I'm kind of shocked that Steven Cruz got the nod over Will Klein. Will Klein's been struggling, but again, so is Steven Cruz. Will Klein was your Futures Game representative. I'm now getting a suspicion that he's going to be a September call-up because they're just saving him for a full month there. Now, this could be a quick move just to get Steven Cruz up there. But once those three are all up in Kansas City, my master plan is in place. And that's how you build a bullpen. If you want to leave Jackson Kowar in there, I can live with it because, as I've said, stuff over results. Last night, Jackson Kowar's stuff was good. The results were poor. But I will take Jackson Kowar out there over Taylor Hearn, over Tucker Davidson, over some guys that I don't care for in the bullpen. I'd like to say Colin Snyder has great stuff, but those are really bad results. This is important for the 2024 bullpen. Now, if you're just going to mail it in and throw in the 34-year-old reliever, the 32-year-old reliever, the journeyman in there to save you a game, you're not doing this the right way. The Royals need to rebuild this bullpen, and the best way to do it is with guys that have heat, power stuff, power swing and miss stuff. And you go over the course of everybody in the minor leagues. Usually the fireballers struggle a bit with command. In fact, that's every pitcher in baseball. Go to every hard thrower. They're probably not walking less than 2 guys per 9. When you throw that hard, there's less chances of it getting in the strike zone. And when you're missing by a lot. But this is a good move. This is a good move for the bullpen. We've seen it work out with John McMillan so far. I mean, Carlos Hernandez moves from the rotation to the bullpen. It's worked out. The only guy that had great power stuff that completely lost it was Dylan Coleman this year. Now, Jackson Kowar, as I mentioned, pretty good stuff last night. He was throwing strikes, hitting 98 with regularity. I can live with that with a bad bullpen. I was not excited at all to see Tucker Davidson throw last night. And he was great. He was the best pitcher last night for the Royals. An inning and a third scoreless, pair of strikeouts, was good enough. It really was. But at the end of the day, I'm not looking forward to a soft-tossing lefty coming into the game. I want power out of the bullpen. Steven Cruz gives you that. John McMillan gives you that. Carlos Hernandez gives you that. Dare I say Jackson Kowar gives you that. Now, Will Klein, you get him up to the bullpen, now you're talking. It's why I was so excited to see Jake Brent's back in the bullpen, because he's got power stuff. A lefty throwing 98 to 100, that's unheard of. We said it's unheard of for Cole Reagans. It's really unheard of for career minor leaguers. He debuted at, what was it, 27? That's almost unheard of. But Jake Brent's getting a chance at this bullpen next year. I can go with it. If Josh Staumont rediscovers that fastball and that power 12-6, you take a chance on him in the bullpen. It's a great move today for the Royals. And, of course, it's going to go unnoticed because today was a cut day in the NFL for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm still going to try to bring you all the juice and the flair of this podcast, even during the middle of football season and even on days that it's tough to come up with content. But this is one I'm pretty excited for. I'm excited to see Steven Cruz out there. I'm hoping the velocity sticks. I'm hoping it's something to work with. I don't care if the numbers look bad by the end of the year. It's something. You can work with a triple-digit fastball. You can't work with a 90 to 91 mile an hour fastball with little control. Stuff over results. It's my motto. I should put it at the bottom of this podcast page, because to me, it's the phrase I say the most, and it's a phrase I stick by when you're building a bullpen. The last thing I want to go over today is why I'm so excited to wipe the slate clean. It's not just because the record looks so bad, but it's what I'm anticipating this offseason. That's coming up next on Locked On Royals. You are tuning in another edition of Locked On Royals on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. Before we close out our show today, I'm just going to give a little bit of a tease as to what's going to be happening this offseason. Now, if you've been loving and used to the content 5 days a week, I really appreciate you. We've had massive numbers on YouTube for our podcast downloads. I've had a blast, and I wouldn't have the same enthusiasm or joy doing this if it wasn't for you followers, if it wasn't for you listeners, the back and forth. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited as anybody that football season is right around the corner. You know, my team's playing this weekend. The Chiefs are next week. I'm going to be tuned into football, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop giving you content right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. But instead of 5 days a week, it's going to bump down to 3 days a week. But in those 3 days, going to incorporate you, the listener, a lot. Going to have a lot more mailbags. Going to have a lot more free agent talk. And it is a big part of why I'm excited this offseason. Because when I look at those standings, when I look at the record and I see 41-92, it's ugly, man. I don't like seeing the breaking history tweets. I don't like to see the ones where the Royals will shatter their franchise record. It hurts your soul as a Royals fan. Now, if you're not a Royals fan or you're rooting against them, probably feels pretty good. But at the end of the day, when you get to the offseason, it's a clean set. You sweep everything off the table, you throw it away in the trash, you move on. And that's why this offseason, I'm excited because, you know, when you look at where this team's going to end up, they're probably going to finish in the range of, 50 to 55 wins, somewhere between 108 and 115 losses. That's my expectation. Now, I need to get the exact record out. If you want me to really pigeonhole myself and say exactly what the record is, let's go with, would it be 50, 53 and 109? That makes sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe it's 53 and 109. That would break the franchise record, I believe, because the 2005 Royals went 56 and 106. So 53 and 109. I think that's my bet there. That would be my final guess for the Royals' overall season record. But back to the point. I'm excited that you wipe the slate clean, and then you're trying to fix up this roster. What was boring about last year is the Royals had all these young guys, and there were young guys that needed at-bats. Now they've gotten their at-bats, and now it's time for the front office to make some tough decisions, to add to this team, to completely purge this bullpen, to make some trades. That's why this winter is going to be far more entertaining. Whether you believe the Royals are going to sign people or not, I think I know what is coming. If they're not going to sign anybody, if it's going to be another cheap year, well, they are going to unload some of their guys like Brady Singer, like Carlos Hernandez, like Salvador Perez. I could see that much more likely than it's been in seasons past. Last year, there was no, even worry about Brady Singer being traded. There was no contemplation about Brady Singer being traded. He was going to be in this rotation, and he was hopefully going to be your number one. Now we're starting to see that that's probably not a possibility, not in their window of contention. But this could be a much more active offseason. No, I think there's going to be some serious growth with this team. And for me, whether it's a good or a bad thing, it's put up or shut up time with John Sherman. If you're serious about this team contending and you're, on the edge of your seat every single pitch, and you care about this city, you care about the fan base, and it frustrates you when you lose, well, do something about it. It's your time now. This is the worst record in franchise history, and we've all been alive for some pretty putrid Royals seasons. And when you're alive that long for bad baseball, you can't even fathom it getting as bad as the mid-2000s. But it has. Now, there's much more star talent on this team, and this just terrible pitching. There was much better pitching in the mid-2000s because you had Zach Greinke there. But to me, this is one of those off seasons where it's not so much of okay, you lost 109 games. We need to do that again in tank because you're not going to be guaranteed a top 3 pick anymore. So when you have a top 2 pick that's upcoming in the Major League Baseball draft lottery, at least hoping, fingers crossed, hope your ping pong ball finds the hand of who's ever drawing it. But you're going to get a top 2 pick, it feels like. It's going to be between you and Oakland. There's a good chance you can get the number 1 because I don't think you're going to surpass Oakland for the worst record in baseball. But let's say you get the number 1. All right, you got that for next season. Now, a lot of these guys you just drafted and developed, maybe they can work their way into the top 100. Jury's still out on that. But when you have a bad farm system and you're not guaranteed a top 3 pick next year, in fact, I don't believe you can, then you got to spend a little bit. You got to be a little bit more competitive. You can't tank anymore in baseball, which is why I think this is that offseason to be a little bit more active. And think about how much different this will all feel. I'm not saying the bar is like 72 wins, but if the Royals finish at 53-109 and they win 72 next year, I mean, I think the 2021 team won 72. That team felt completely different. They were fun in April and May, but they pretty much hung around for a while. There were some bad months, but 72 wins next year you could do with a pretty active offseason. Not saying break bank, but now you know what Bobby Witt Jr. is. You know what Michael Garcia is. You get Vinny Pasquantino back. Figure out the outfit a little bit. Figure out the bullpen, the starting rotation. That's a lot to worry about. But I would say at the end of the day, you're going to be working with a team that just needs a restructuring. And I, for one, am always fans of a complete and total facelift, a restructuring. You know, it's fun when you're a contender and you just need to add a piece or two. And it's fun when you build off a great year like 2013 was for the Royals, and then you spend a little bit more. But this team is in a unique spot because if they were in a spot where, you know, Brady Singer performed well, Chris Bubich performed well, Daniel Lynch did, Cole Ratings, we'd feel good. I don't think they'd spend money to go get their workhorse. I really don't. I think they need to spend a couple of millions of dollars on a 1 and maybe a 2, or a 1 and the 4 and a 1 and the 5. They need to go get a middle of the lineup bat. They need a little bit of help in the bullpen. They could be active in the Rule 5. All of that is coming up this winter, which is why I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. So maybe I'm a sicko. Royals off season, it's usually pretty boring. But I think from this standpoint, after this season, we're going to see a pretty active group. Call me crazy. Again, disagree with me. You can do that on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. Or you can do it on YouTube. Subscribe first to Locked On Royals and comment on this video. So you're crazy. That makes no sense. Royals are not going to be active. I'd love to hear your opinions because you, not me, are the ones that make this podcast possible. That is going to do it for another edition of Locked On Royals on the Locked On Podcast Network. I have been your host, Jack Johnson. Tomorrow, we're going to dive into some more Cole Reagan's talk, probably get some input from you, the listener. I'll tweet out some questions tomorrow, and then we're going to look ahead to this weekend series and who may be starting in Brady Singer's place. That'll all be coming up tomorrow on Locked On Royals, but until then, you take it easy, Kansas City.